Yeah, I do. I love it. I love it. It's accountability. It's a situation where you're America's team. You stink. Your defense is horrid. You've been horrid. And as a result of that, you're 1-2 on the season. And we see that the season opener against the Cleveland Browns was a smokescreen. There's no way to look at this. There's no other way to look at this. The fact of the matter is the Dallas Cowboys can't stop a cold when it comes to doing things defensively. They can't stop the run. You can play bully ball against them, Shay, and that's what you can do to take them out. Now, I understand that there's a lot of people that are miserable about this, okay? Let me be the first to say the obvious. Let me call myself today, we're going to call me Captain Obvious. I am not miserable at all. I'm quite happy. I mean, listen, I tried to tell, listen, I sat down with Jerry, as y'all saw me when I sat down with Jerry Jones weeks ago on my podcast. It's like, yo, man, you didn't go after Derrick Henry. Yeah, we couldn't afford him. You waited forever to sign Dak Prescott. We signed him when we needed to sign him. You did the same thing or rather, he was about to sign Dak Prescott. We waited forever. CeeDee Lamb. Okay, well, you did that. In the end, here's the bottom line. I had been screaming to the high heavens from day one. You go and you get Derrick Henry. Why do you get Derrick Henry? You get Derrick Henry to make sure, A, you can run the football, B, you can protect Dak Prescott, and C, you can help the defense out because they won't be on the field long enough to get ran over. The likelihood is that you could be front runners because that's what you're experts in. And unfortunately, that hasn't been the case with the Dallas Cowboys, and as a result, we see what we have seen. They can't stop the run. You can play bully ball against them, and they're pointing fingers because that's what happens when you get beat up. When you get beat up, you point fingers, and that's what's happening to them right now, Shay.
Well, that's why I'm going to disagree with you. I don't like it. So what did they do last week? When the Saints came to town and did exactly what the Ravens did, but did it to them worse. So who called out who then? I believe Dak Prescott was talking about CeeDee Lamb being professional at all times because I don't know why CeeDee got upset. You were the one that got the ball punched out. You the one that took points off the board early. You the one that started this precipitous drop in the production of the offense because they were about to go in and at bare minimum get a field goal. They probably could have scored a touchdown, and you got the ball punched out. And then you started moping all day. This is why, Stephen A., I was a firm believer you don't show your quarterback up. Because once he started moping, and then what happened? He started dropping everything in his vicinity. He blaming Dak. Bruh, you dropped the ball. And then he got upset because Dak underthrew him. CeeDee, even if you catch a touchdown, they're going to bring it back because you had a penalty. Bruh, you need to be professional. Dak is going out of his way to try to get you the ball. He understands that in order for this offense to be productive in the passing game, you need to be at your absolute best. He's going to feed you the ball. Bro, you need to calm down. Your behavior yesterday was unacceptable because while you around there moping, dropping passes, Dak ain't do all that. Dak ain't kicking the dirt. Dak is not throwing his hands up in there. Second of all, Stephen A., the only thing that I'm mad about is that Lamar Jackson didn't get 100 yards. I told you they was going to run for at least 250, and Lamar Jackson was going to have 100. Well, he had 87. And had they probably got that onside a possession earlier, he probably would have got that. They do not have enough bricks in their defensive line back pocket to hold up against the run. Yeah, you're going to look at Dak and say, oh, they came back. But all I know, it was 28-6, and the offense nor the defense did anything to call home about through the first 3 quarters of that ball game. And it's still out. This is what you can do against the Cowboys. You can line up and you can bully them. You can move their men against their will. Stephen A. also told you something on Friday also. I said, Stephen A., if you want to maximize Derrick Henry, put him in the I formation. Put a fullback in front of him and say, son, go pick your hole. He's not a zone read back. I understand the concerns that the Ravens have. Lamar Jackson works best out of the zone read situation.
All right, guys, we have more NFL coming up, so I'm putting my money on the Dallas Cowboys to win against the New York Giants. So we're going to be putting $50 on this bet to win $23, which I think is going to be an absolute steal for this. Now, when it actually comes to BetUS, guys, definitely go check them out. They give 150% bonus on your first deposit and then 125% bonus on your your next 2 deposits up to $2,000 with the code YouTube150. So definitely go check them out, guys. We are going to confirm this bet right now and get it going. Now we got it in, guys. Dallas Cowboys, we got them winning for this. But like I said, make sure you go check out BetUS. 150% bonus on your first deposit and then 125% bonus on your next 2 deposits up to $2,000 with the code YouTube150. So definitely go check out BetUS and let's get back into the video. The second story is that the Dallas Cowboys is linked to a possible trade for former star wide receiver. Now, the Dallas Cowboys wide receiving corps has faced plenty of questions and scrutiny over the past few months. With a lack of experience behind CeeDee Lamb and Brandon Cooks, much like the running back room, wide receiver is an area on the roster that Cowboys have failed to address. But an intriguing option is starting to surface. According to ESPN's Dan Graziano, the Cowboys are among the teams who could be in the mix for a wide receiver trade ahead of the league's November 5. One player who is emerging as a potential trade candidate is Cleveland Browns wide receiver Amari Cooper, who the Cowboys are more familiar with. The Cowboys made a highly criticized trade of Cooper in 2022, sending him to the Browns for a 5th round pick and 6th round pick swap. Since then, the Cowboys wide receiver depth has been of question. Cooper was a 4-time Pro Bowler in Dallas Cowboys with 2 1,000-yard seasons. He got off to a hot start with the Browns, recording back-to-back 70-plus receptions and a 1,000-yard season, but is off to a slow start in 2024 through 2 games. Cooper has only 5 catches for 27 yards. The Browns are 1-1 and in second place in the AFC North, but no one expects the Baltimore Ravens and Cincinnati Bengals to continue their current struggles. If the Browns regress over the next month, and if the Cowboys are in the mix heading into the headline, making an offer to Cleveland to bring Cooper back to Big D is a move that Jerry Jones would have to consider. Let's keep an eye on things. On top of this, when it comes to Jerry Jones, he did show he's disappointed for the 2-game slide, and they know that they have a lot of work to do. 1 week ago, owner and general manager Jerry Jones was one of the primary decision makers, noting that the Dallas Cowboys needed to and would improve over their embarrassing loss at the hands of the New Orleans Saints in week 2. But as they entered a shortened week 4, the improvements are still in the wind, mostly having dropped their matchup against the Baltimore Ravens in week 3. Things were getting again out of hand when the defense was unable to halt Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry, as the offense continued their struggles in the red zone and overall figuring out how to score touchdowns, promising drives killed by a list of ultimately penalties and also fumble by CeeDee Lamb. I just seemed like we couldn't get out of our own way, they said, or Jones said in particular. But it's just a reminder of what the game is about. The silver lining that exists this week, but was absent 7 days prior, lies in how the Cowboys came alive in the 4th quarter in all 3 phases. They scored 3 touchdowns, recovered an onside kick, and forced Jackson's offense off of the field on 3rd down on multiple occasions. The late game push nearly handed the Ravens the biggest NFL collapse of the season, but they needed one more stop to have a chance, and they weren't able to finish their comeback. Jones is at least seeing the events of the 4th quarter as momentum and confidence that can be built on going forward, considering the Cowboys scored more points in that quarter than in previous 11 quarters combined. They can't take some of what they showed out at the end of the game, and we can go forward with that, he said. That's at least some good taste in your mouth. We're sad, obviously, for our fans that we've lost 2 in a row. We're at home, but if things work like you'd like to have them, they can take somewhat of what we had at the end there and bottle it up to go forward. That doesn't mean, under any circumstance, that he's ignoring what happened for the first 45 minutes of the contest against Baltimore. He's expecting better, and there's at least something that gives confidence improvement is on the way. No, I'm very disappointed that we got beat today, Jones said. Very disappointed, and you can't in any way sugarcoat the fact that we got beat. And there were parts of the way we got beat that were really areas we've got to get a lot better in. We've got a lot of work to do, but we've got time to do it, and that kind of work, we've got a short week this week, but we've got to start. Now, 1 game back of the Philadelphia Eagles with 14 regular season games left to play, it's about fixing things sooner than later to avoid finding themselves in a situation where they're regretting dropping early games that could ultimately determine playoff seeding or their playoff fate altogether. The third story is that the Dallas Cowboys' Dak Prescott had something to say about the Cowboys' loss against the Ravens. Now, Dak Prescott and the Dallas Cowboys suffered another loss at home against the Baltimore Ravens. Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry absolutely dominated dominate the running game with more than 230 yards combined on the ground. Now, the Cowboys have a 1-2 record and face a short week before visiting the New York Giants on Thursday Night Football. Considering their tough schedule ahead, it's a must-win scenario. So, in one of the biggest stories in the NFL, America's team is no longer seen as a Super Bowl favorite. However, Prescott believes there's enough time to make things work. That's the big question for the Dallas Cowboys. After a third consecutive loss at home during playoffs, this was Dak Prescott's message for his teammates to make a comeback as soon as possible. We've got to help our defense. I know what's their standard and they don't want to allow 28 points, but 28 points against an MVP player. An offense like that, that's a game we have to score 30 in. We know it, we didn't do it. Us as players, we've got to be more professional, understand our jobs, understand why we're supposed to be, and do that time again and again to keep our focus. We got to be cleaner and locked in and take accountability. On top of this, when it comes to Jerry Jones also had an explanation on why they actually didn't pursue Derrick Henry. Now, the Dallas Cowboys fell at home for the second consecutive week, and once again, a glaring weakness for the Cowboys was the weak and consistent running game. The Dallas backfield finished the game with just 51 yards and 1 touchdown on 16 carries, averaging 3.2 yards per carry.